Okay, so here we're looking at the back of a Rocket R58 Cinquantotto. This is a dual boiler home espresso machine. Now on the left, we'll see this is our steam boiler. This boiler is for our steam tap, or hot water tap, and our steam valve. And then on our right here, this is our group boiler. This is where all of our espresso is going to be coming from. So we'll follow the pathway and see how these tanks get fed. So starting off, you would plug your water reservoir into here. This water reservoir sits in this cup. We've got a sensor over here that's not currently plugged in, but that's going to tell your machine if it has water or not. So as water comes into this cup, we've got a vent tube here that just prevents a vacuum from that. And then our second tube will follow along here. This goes through a little check valve that's going to prevent any backflow going back into the tank. Then we'll come back up and over. So then we've got a 2-port inlet here. So this machine is made so it can be plumbed in or it can be used with a water reservoir. So one of the two of these valves is going to remain open or closed. So depending on the setting you choose, if you decide to do plumbed in, your tank is going to close and your water is going to come in through here. If you decide to run off a tank, then your plumbed in option is going to close and you're going to run water straight through here. So then we come into this braided hose, which we'll follow around, which goes into our rotary vane pump. Two kinds of pumps you're going to see in home espresso machines are going to be rotary vane, which looks like this, or a vibratory pump, which looks a little more like a pump you would see on a small home water fountain. So those pumps fail pretty often. These are much more robust, so we really like to have a rotary vane pump. They are quite a bit more expensive, but they're going to give you a lot better and more consistent pressure control. So water comes up, in, and through the pump. We've got a pressure gauge off of our pump that's going to be reading on the front of the machine. And then we'll follow this braided line back over to this junction. At this junction, this is where we see we'll split off to our steam and our group boilers. So on the left side, this is for our steam boiler. We've got our inlet valve that this is controlled by our auto fill probe up here, which tells it the water level. So as the water drops in the steam tank, that auto fill probe will tell this valve to open and then send water up through here into the tank and drop down and fill this tank about 50% full. So that is our pathway 1. Pathway 2 goes to our group tank. So we're going to go through a check valve. Now, if you have blockages in your group head, a lot of times it's coming from these check valves. So this is often a place that I will look if I am not seeing any water coming through my group head. I'll pop off this connection here, turn on my group, and see if I get any water flow. If I do, I know I've got this side is good and it's further down the line. If not, I would remove this and see if I get water flow up to here. So just a little diagnostic point, but we'll continue to follow this copper pipe up. This is our expansion valve. This is going to bleed off excess pressure in the group tank. I don't need to get into that too much here, but this is set by the factory or typically set by your technician. Don't mind my dog there. Hey, Jed. So we're going to continue to follow the pathway. Coming up into the copper pipe here, this is what drops into our group tank. So the group tank, what we can't see here is there is a shaft that runs directly down here all the way into the center of this boiler. And water comes into the bottom of the boiler and then fills the full group tank. So as that group tank fills, it's going to fully saturate this area. When you turn on your pump or your group head, it's going to push water down into that shaft, forcing water up and out through your main pipe here that's going to run up to your group head. So this pushes water up to the group head, follows a channel up to here that's going to go to your espresso, and then recirculates backwards into the machine. So back there we can see we've got our outlet pipe that's going to come and recirculate back down here and then back into the bottom of the boiler. So that is the water pathway of the dual boiler Rocket home espresso machine.